You must unite what has been set asunder.
We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Bringing you the highest vibes.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please check your ideas and opinions at the door?
This is Twin Flame Divine Fire.
I say check it at the door advisedly because you can pick it up again when you go out if you feel unsafe without it.
Coming at you on a Sunday afternoon.
All there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying, I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it.
Right here on Truth Frequency Radio.
The only thing that will solve stuff is by understanding who you truly are, working out what you truly want, living from the heart, and structuring a framework in life so that you live your passion.
Truth Frequency Radio. Your protection from deception.
And the sun came out. It's beautiful. It's shining in. And
we are Twin Flame Divine Fire again today to have a fan. I'm just going to say, Anastacia Compost, welcome to the show. I'm not going to go through the whole introduction because that may throw us off line again.
Oh, hello again.
Now, in case you have checked this out,
it's a little
yeah, it was a little, and Anastacia, yeah, and Anastasia's just like, hello. Is anybody out there? Please, let me have some more. And she did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just winged it. Literally along. It was funny.
And when we got the recording of it, we heard the at the end, and it was like, oh, that was the best part.
Well, it was so cool because Anastacia kind of went off into a different, I don't want to say dimension, but a different plane. I don't know. But you could just hear it kick in.
Yeah.
And, I mean.
And we loved it. We loved it.
You're the girl, man. You're the whoa, man.
The electric went, we seen it flicker three times.
Yeah.
And the electric went out, the internet went down. Phone was sitting next to it.
Yeah.
So,
but you know what they say, the show must go on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were
queen, by the
so
way. Yeah,
proud of you. She carried it. That last 3 minutes was amazing. And I even got tears in my eyes when I listened to it. I went, you go, girl, you go.
That was a phrase that two friends, the one that texted me, or afterwards, they said they was just sitting there going, you go, girl, and fist pumping in the air when I, because I was very guided to continue. I went into a whole different space when I felt that you weren't there, and I got a text message from a friend that said, we can still hear you. And I'm like, okay. And then this incredible big white space just opened up, and it was just me and the divine and humanity. And I had to go and listen afterwards because I was just in that moment going the flow purely from spirit, soul and heart out. I didn't even know what I really said. I had to go listen as well. And then I don't even recall that breath that you said. And afterwards I went, oh, did I do that? And it was a few things. The breath was actually healing in itself. The breath was that was a healing, because there's techniques I've heard of where you do breath healing on people. So, and it was also a representation of what I was saying about let your angel wings out. It was like the angel wings flying. It was really powerful, really powerful. So I surprised myself. Hey.
Yeah, well, you could tell. I mean, it really was, and the whole tenor of your voice changed. It almost sounded like you could just hear the thought pattern change. Even, I mean, it was.
Oh, that's scary. That's scary.
You went to blackout, so I mean,
it's not.
What do
it's
you know?
not
You don't know it. No. But it was
But
great.
it was actually. You're right. There was the pause, and it was like You can hear the cogs turning over, you know.
She's like,
What do I
this
do?
meat suit's going to freeze up. We're going to take over. That's okay. Anastacia, sit down until we call for you again. We will
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me back. I so appreciate it. I'm very excited to be here again.
Well, we have some amazing things that we want to discuss today, and we're so honored to have you on the show. And we're a bunch of goofs this morning, guys, so this show should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did not get any sleep last night at all. At all.
Why was that?
I don't know, man. Somebody was in there working on the brain box or something. They were all the above yesterday. Huh, Anastacia.
Oh, just a little bit of a healing we did, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A little wink, wink there.
Yeah, a little back. We were all together yesterday for about 2.25 hours. And Anastacia was doing what she does very well. I mean, she was kind of clearing some stuff out for us. You know, I think that's one of the big things, you know, because we have a radio show and, you know, it's about spirituality and it's about healing and just because we have our own little radio show on Truth Frequency Radio, you know, physicians need doctors. I guess that's about the closest analogy. And I'm not saying it for doctors or anything, but, you know, everybody needs help.
Yeah. And it's amazing when you can find that spark of someone that resonates with your frequency and they can help you and assist. And that's what this is all about. Find what helps you. And we were having this huge discussion about we are this human vessel that carries our soul, the amazing body. Now, how well are you taking care of that amazing body? It houses the soul, and it houses all of these greater versions of you. And let's do this. Come on.
Well, it is bringing it into the human. Absolutely, it is bringing. And you listen to how you are today, from the amazing healing that happened yesterday. Your energy is just so beautiful and freer, and it's just so wonderful to hear.
It was a week.
It was a very interesting week.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We've got out as much as we possibly can, and it's like when the sun hits you, you just stop in amazement and go, "Oh, drink it up, drink every bit of it up, and enjoy the sunshine and the renewal, and just be happy in that space."
Well, it is the moments. It is, as you were saying before about in the human body, it's slowing down and capturing those moments. Because, you know, when you transmute energy, a lot of empaths and Blu-rays that transmute energy so much, practically nearly all the time, it is slowing down and just enjoying those moments is really, really important. Oh, can you hear that?
Hear the birds.
That's Kookaburras. They're Kookaburras.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
That
Hello,
is the coolest
Kookaburra.
ambient background noise I think I've ever heard on the radio.
Well, we are live, and you're going to get whatever's happening around. I taped this recently and shared it in the private group and shared a little write-up of the Kookaburras laugh. Lighten up. Laugh and lighten up. And that's another thing, is to lighten up, to cope, because a lot of people are struggling with how to cope with bringing in all the energies that people are feeling into the human, because it's tough, and it's to lighten up helps a lot.
And I think it's really important that people understand we have emotions in a human body, and emotions are energy in motion. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm all about being love and light, but there is no such thing as really light and dark. It's all a balance of energy. So if we want to move forward, we have to address the shadow aspect and get angry. Allow the emotions to come through. The emotions are energy in motion, and you got to let it out. I told Alan that I experienced something the other day, and I got really angry. Anybody that knows me I don't generally get angry.
No.
I just don't. And it just welled up, and all of a sudden it just had to happen. And I was like, honey, you might want to get ready and leave if you have to.
Yeah.
And I was ready to go to blink of an eye, man. I was just like, I'm going to leave. Well, no, and I get that, though, because we've been taught to stuff everything. You know, it's not socially acceptable. You know, you said, and I'm not saying you go and just fly into a rage in the middle of Walmart, which I'm sure a lot of people are doing because it's Christmas season, but I'm saying.
We have an amazing angel that started kickboxing.
You're not using me, I'll tell you that right now. No,
You're too tall. There is this drastic height difference between him and I.
about a foot.
About a foot? Oh, I hear it.
There's more birds. I can hear more birds coming through.
Oh, wow. We woke up this morning and I stepped outside. Just I heard the seal on the corner barking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, he's back. It's amazing the science shifting starts to occur.
Well, a lot of transition going on right now.
I was just about to say, talking about transition, there is a lot going on.
Oh,
Yeah.
So much. I'm sitting here with the posts I've written from the 28th of November. We've just gone through some major stuff even since the 28th of November, even a couple of days ago, because we've been shifting into a higher heart energy. And also there's a new Trinity energy coming through. Like, we're just growing and ascending so quickly at the moment, and people are all at different stages and levels. It's very interesting. And because of this, a lot of people's energies are scattered at the moment. Mm-hmm. And it's very much about bringing our energies back into ourselves. And, of course, always grounding ourselves. But the key is what you said, through the emotions, to link into the human. And this is one of the biggest areas with people is what you said about feeling, to be real and feeling your emotions is really the key element of bridging between our spirit to our soul. If we don't feel the emotions, because so many suppress and through different reasons, and so many tend to stay on the astrals as well without really coming into the human being. I would have to say this is one of the biggest things in what I see in being linked to all of humanity, literally as a template in the human being, is one of the biggest areas with every Skype and the divine one-on-one healings that I offer is that linking into the human. It is major. It is major. People are still learning this, hey?
Well, we are seeing some shifting like crazy. Amazing things coming through. And none of us should be afraid to seek out assistance. I think that's one thing that is key right now. If you are having what feels like trouble with the energy, seek out someone. Seek out someone.
But it's also someone that you resonate with, and we really need to be diligent and be really aware of the people that we seek, because it's about us helping ourselves, hey? And it's not taking on face value or someone that puts himself as a guru or ahead of others. There seems to be a lot of that at the moment, putting people up on pedestals, taking what they're saying point blank. It's about feeling and resonating to what you feel in your gut about this person. And if it's not clear, as in if there's any confusion or if there's any inside of you, that's an alarm bell. Your intuition telling you something's just doesn't feel quite right. It's to go with what really feels clear and loving and what resonates fully with someone. Because there's a lot of people still learning and growing and sharing, which is so wonderful. People are sharing the gifts or what they're here to bring to humanity. And a lot of people are still working and clearing their vessels, so to speak. And there's different people that will come into our lives, different reasons, different times for us to learn lessons from. So we really need to be diligent in who we go to for us to really help ourselves. And I write this so often, you know, I'm personally here to help others to help themselves.
Yeah.
It's really, really important.
I think it's really strange that over the years we've had a few people that we worked with to assist us, and the main focus lately has been make sure you're taking care of you, and we found people that were saying, okay, this is intense, come on, we need a little help here.
Yes.
And get through this and be in the flow and not fighting the flow.
There's a lot to that, Sandra.
Yeah.
It's so easy with the words, even with the words that I share in what I write, because the emotions, I often say it's like an iceberg. Again, this is just personally what I share. That's just the tip. There's so much more. It's easy to say, go with the flow, this, that, the other, but there's a lot to that. There's a lot to that. What does that mean? How do I do this? You know, it's easy for someone to say to someone, you know, go with the flow. But in the human being, there is a lot in accepting and integrating and learning, excuse me, how to deal with that in the human.
And a lot of people ask, what do you mean? You say get in the flow. What is the flow? They don't understand what the flow means. So if they don't understand it, how can they get into it?
Exactly. And the key is to start becoming really conscious of your intuition, that little alarm bell, because it is there. Years ago, I remember there were certain things happening in my life and I was not fully aware of following my intuition because I was going through so much. It's a very long time ago. But I knew somewhere in the back of me, this little voice was telling me something didn't sit with me, but I actually ignored it. And what it is bringing that from the subconscious, that little, and everybody has it, you know, everyone can, you know, and it's bringing that forward in front of you into your consciousness and listening to what your intuition is letting you know that something doesn't feel right, something doesn't sit right with you, and not ignoring that. So that's a really good start, is not ignoring, but in our gut what something tells us, because we're very clever, you know.
Oh, and our brains are very clever too, to make us think,
sometimes too clever.
Yeah.
Too clever, because it thinks so much.
It wants to say, don't listen to your gut. Don't listen to your gut. And I think one of the themes, especially this week, has been people just do not realize how much stronger their heart is than their brain.
Yeah.
They hear their brain and the things that it's saying. And our whole theme this week has been, but your heart is so strong. You do not give it enough credit for what it actually can do. When the brain starts saying, oh, you can't do that, or all of these experiences from the past are moving forward and they're rotating in your brain and you can't get out of it. All you have to do is say, you know what? I know what you're doing. I know you're tricking me, and go into the feeling of the heart. We forget our heart knows what we need, and allow it to take control like it should, and allow to guide you.
Yes.
Every step of the way, even little things. We think, well, it's only the big things. No, it's not.
It's everything.
It's everything.
The little things as you get older are the bigger things, aren't they?
They do become the bigger things.
Yeah.
We're about a minute away from going into break, but I would really, when we come back, I would like to talk Anastacia, have you had any issues with clocks stopping lately?
Others have around me. So I've been listening to quite a few people let me know that.
Yeah. Having that happen quite frequently.
Frequently.
And what's bizarre is what transpires when the clock stops. And so I'd kind of like to go into that because there are amazing signs coming out everywhere around us. And sometimes we're like, doggone it, change the battery out. It still doesn't work.
All right, well, we're going to get into that and a lot more on the other side with Anastacia Campos, Twin Flame Divine Fire on Frequency Radio. We'll be right back. And we're back, Twin Flame Divine Fire, Truth Frequency Radio. I'm Alan. Glad to have you on.
Sandra?
And our special guest today, again, Anastacia Campos. So happy to have Anastacia with us today.
Thank you again.
It's kind of a weird day, so bear with us a little bit, you know.
Well, there are a lot of energies as we're talking, and this is about me being real. There are a lot of energies as we're talking, flowing and shifting as we go. So, yeah, it is interesting today where we're going to end up with this.
Who knows? I don't know. We're just going to hang on and go with it.
And it is all about being real and the energies and everything that's going on around us. And I had mentioned the clocks, and our clock is stopped 3 times this week. So we know energetically it's crazy high in the middle of the night because we've had 104, 116, and then 314. And so we look at those numbers. When it happens, the first thing we do is go and find out what it's trying to tell us. And from there, it allows us to really get a grasp on the energy and what it's trying to tell us.
Well, that's a good one, Sandra, if you don't mind me just jumping in with that one. So that's a really good one in what you said, because when we're talking about going with the flow, another thing, a big thing, is all the signs around us, because, and a lot of people know this, it's around us all the time. It could be an ant walking across the ground in front of you. It could be you're driving a car and a number plate will flash up with the word. You'll look around and you'll see a sign. It's sort of like it's highlighted and it really stands out. And then message and songs. Certain songs will come up for certain people that are a reminder, that are a message. There are messages and signs everywhere. Again, if we just slow down a little bit and just stop for a moment, because it's about grasping the moments. And it's, you know, there's I often say it's the pauses. There's so much in the pauses. There's so much in between the seconds on a clock. In between those seconds, there's so much space, time and energy that we can stretch out if we go moment by moment and slow down. And that can take a little while to actually unwind a tightly wound up clock. Talking about clocks, a wound up clock that many people are, is to slowly unwind ourselves from the inside out. You know, it's there's signs and messages all around us if we just stop, pay attention, look, listen and feel.
And breathe.
Oh, absolutely breathe.
Take a deep breath and put your hand on your heart and go.
And that's true, because quite often when we're going through a lot, we can forget, and we do a lot of shallow breathing in our chests. And breathing is very, very important to slow it down. And just doing that is enough to calm. And I need to do it often for myself. I shared in the first radio show, is my natural pace is go, 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 quick, quick, quick. And it's something I've learned because I used to be very imbalanced, extreme high, extreme low, and post-traumatic stress and major depression. I was addicted to 5 drugs. They were script drugs, but they were more than, and getting off all of them at once, cold turkey, is more than getting off heroin and methadone. And so calm that anxiety down by breathing. And it's something I've taught myself, and we can teach ourselves. There's so many little tools and methods that I personally use to help myself to keep in the flow, And I love sharing these. I have many little tools in my little bag.
I think it's quite interesting because we forget as you have children and you look at a baby and actually how the calm state is, how when they breathe in through the abdomen.
That's right.
And out. And they're in that relaxed state. And as we get older, we take those short breaths. We got to do this quick. And we're not paying attention to the breath. Slow the breath down. Breathe in through the abdomen and out, in and out, and just calm it down. So many times we get in a rush and we just forget, watch your breathing.
Well, it keeps you in the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're kind of paying attention to that, because I've kind of done a resurgence on that lately, because I, for a long time, never really paid that much attention, and I started hearing people talking about it, and I started being a little bit more conscious of just something as simple that we take so for granted every day is breathing. But if you're not really paying attention to what you're doing there, I find that when I'm incapable of doing that, I am scattered. I'm thinking about what I've done or what I have to do, and I'm anywhere.
So the mind kicks
right
in,
now.
Alan. So then the head kicks in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Good one. And the breathing also, as you said, is a way to bring us, and I'll use the term into the now. And it does help us to be really present and to be, that's another little one method one can do to start being more conscious. There's so many little bits and pieces that we can do to start being more conscious, to look after ourselves, to be in the flow, to help us, to help ourselves, so we don't give out our energy out to everybody else, because the time for us self-sacrificing ourselves is over. And we really need to shift that into self-survival. And then when we bring our energy into self-survival, we need to then shift into self-empowerment. And even the breathing is a starting point to help us to do that.
Well,
and the signs and the messages and the symbols and all those things around us, that also helps us. There's so many things we can do to help ourselves. We're not powerless.
Oh, no.
We're not powerless, but we can feel like that when we're going through something, though. And we've got to start using our self-talk. As you said, Sandra, and use an example where you just, monitor your thoughts and shift those negative thoughts, even if you've got to do it one by one, and have a listen to yourself and what you're saying to yourself. It's so powerful. Many have written about it and said it. I've written about it as well. But knowing and experiencing worlds apart is a saying that was created, that came through, that years ago, that came through. And I still quote that, and it's true. And people that...
I think we tend to be so scattered, and Alan and I have really been evaluating this over the past couple weeks, that we are so multitasked, almost trained
to death.
Yeah, where you're so focused on so many different things that you can't hone in on the one thing that you are so good at and get better and better and better and become the best version of you.
Well, you could also say that to empower yourself more and more and more. How can one empower themselves if the energy's scattered out to so many areas? So it's bringing each link out to something that doesn't serve you, doesn't resonate, or is draining you, is to bring that thread out back into your crown chakra and start reclaiming our energy back in. That's another first step, is bringing our energy back into ourselves. And I have what I call a wagon wheel method that I've shared about visualizing threads going out from your solar plexus and seeing all these threads and then looping them, following that loop out, up, over, back into your crown chakra one by one, is bringing your energy back in. It took me 2 to 3 years to learn to do that for myself, to, with guidance again, create the wagon wheel method. So it can take a while of doing this. And the first thing is to be aware that our energy is out, because I wasn't aware. And a lot of people are not aware that their energy is actually out. It's you really need to tune in again and feel in to be aware of this.
Yeah, because your energy is constantly being clamored for in one form.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
And we'll notice when our energy kind of shifts and it's starting to elevate and go up an octave, that all of a sudden people we haven't heard from in forever will reach out and go, I was thinking about you today.
Isn't that the way? Doesn't that happen often? I notice every time I go through a major shift, bang, in comes multiple amount of messages, calls, emails, and you go, well, there it is.
There's your confirmation.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
And it's the energy knows that you're getting ready to detach and go up. And it's like, oh, no.
And then others are feeling people are feeling your energy shifting as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ones that we've got ties to.
Mm-hmm. And you can pay attention and you'll notice those little subtle changes. But in so many different directions at one time, something like that would happen and you just go, oh, look, I haven't heard from them in a while.
Yep. So. Okay, I'm just processing and feeling some energies coming through right now. There's been a shift. Okay, something's coming through. I wrote something briefly the other day, half a dozen lines, and I normally would write a post. And 2 days ago, I went through where for 24 hours I was numb and blank, which is a very long time for me. And I wrote and shared briefly on the Blue Beyond that what we're going through at the moment is a total surrender of all, to the point of feeling and visualizing you've lost everything. I know this is a big thing to say because someone wrote a comment and said, well, what do you mean? What do I surrender? You know, it's something that you need to go through and feel intuitively, but to take on this information, it is a total letting go. And a lot of people are going through a lot with this at the moment. And I wrote some lines, and I'd like to share what I wrote. The ultimate coming home is coming home into the human being. Because quite often I've written, others are writing, coming home. What does coming home mean? And I actually sat with that. What does coming home mean? And for me, in sharing coming home, is about coming home into the human being. And then I've written the bridge from spirit to soul is the human. And it's what you said, it's feeling the emotions is the bridge to linking our spirit and our soul. So it's coming home into us. Then I've written no longer self-sacrifice, but self-survival to ultimately self-empowerment. That the days of us self-sacrificing for others is no longer. Things have shifted so much with the energies that recently it's like the divine put us in our own bubbles and we were unable to reach others and guide or help them. We can always guide by being ourselves. Okay, again, watch our energy. Don't you know, are we putting, I'm going to say don't, I don't like saying words like that, but, you know, we can't guide others unless they're open to it. We can only be ourselves. So that's what coming home to ourselves is coming home to you first, to not self-sacrifice, because that's finished. And what also came through recently was this is so past life that we've brought through, it's like we've brought through with us this self-sacrificing with us, and it's now ended. It's finished. It's finished. And people, sorry, go.
No, I was going to say, just for a little clarification for those listening, what do you mean exactly? And I don't mean to be analytical, but just kind of break it down more into lay terms where everyone can understand it. What do you mean by the self-sacrifice? What exactly does that mean in your mind, Anastacia?
I know what it means. It means caring about others' health and well-being more than your own.
Okay.
There's a difference in being a carer for others. Say someone has employment where part of their role, their spiritual journey is to be in a work environment, working with others, because that's where their lessons need to be. Okay? Because a lot of people feel they have a really strong mission. And this is something that comes up practically nearly every single time with every Skype that I'm doing is I've got a mission, I feel a passion, I want to go do this, and they're not being in the present, and they haven't come home to themselves first and looked after themselves. And they're not honouring themselves, they're not looking after their health. If we don't look after our physical health, we burn out. And I know because I was in bed in and out for 18 years with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia because I just needed to make sure I got it right, guys, okay? I just needed to stretch it out for 18 years. I just needed to make sure I understood. and you know, trailblazers, we beat our head against a brick wall a few times, you know. And my big turnaround for that was what I realised was I was resting, but I wasn't really resting because my mind, I wanted to do so many things. So this is what we're talking about, self-sacrifice, is self-sacrificing ourselves, even with ourselves.
Yeah.
Is that I was resting, but my mind was, I want to get up and do things. I want to do this, I want to do that. Now, I was so exhausted beyond when you got chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. It is not a case of, and a lot of us close off and pull away from people. Oh, I get tired too, but I just make myself and I get up and do it. And you're exasperated and you get so upset. And it takes another person that has that to go, I understand when you can't get up, when you really, really can't get up. And so we tend to pull away. So I pulled away for a long time. And then one day I was lying there and something clicked and I went, oh my gosh, I'm deliberately, I'm not lazy. I want to do those things. And it was me beating myself up inside when I clicked and realised I wasn't deliberately being lazy. Something big inside me shifted and I eased up on myself and I started getting better to where I've actually now healed that, which is not meant to be able to be healed. You know, well, yeah, I have. And a lot of other things I used and herbs and remedies because my body was depleted from transmuting so much because a lot of people feel, someone wrote to me the other day and said, listen, I have rheumatoid arthritis. How can such a high vibration person, you know, get sick? Is this part of the... And I said, listen, this is dis-ease in your body. Ultimately, it's from unexpressed emotions. Yes, there's also other factors, the acidity of the body, and so on, okay? So I just shared that with them and they wrote back and thank you. They said basically they were bypassing because there's a lot of spiritual bypassing going on as well. I know you asked me about self-sacrifice. It's just drifted into bypassing now. Do you like that? We'll just sit with... Because there are so many people that are spiritually bypassing. They are living in the astral realms and this is no judgment. This is coming from unconditional love of understanding the bigger picture of people needing to come back into the human being, to not self-sacrifice the human. We chose to come in and it's one of the hardest and toughest challenges coming in, embodying a physical form. We are so brave that we chose to have now people know this, okay? This has been written. all right? But we chose to come into this physical incarnation to help us, our soul, our eternal soul, to grow. There are others up there that are learning from us. So we are really, really brave spiritual warriors, and we're now here to shift this to become peaceful warriors. We don't need to war. We don't need to push through and fight and self-sacrifice, because many of us have died time after time in past lives. And energetically that came through a couple of months, September actually, I wrote of when it first came through, and I felt it and shifted it for myself, because what I get is, as it comes to the planet, that needs to filter and flow down for where someone is at. It's no competition. There's no room for spiritual ego with unconditional love.
We're kind of seeing a lot of that, though, too, aren't we? We're seeing a lot of the, how do you want to put it? I don't want to say misleading spirituality, but there seems to be, and I don't know if it's always been there, almost like an influx of spiritual ego going on right now.
Oh, it's been going on for a bit.
Yeah.
It's
But you just
know,
kind of see it escalating little by little by little, and you know, next thing you know, it's like, whoa, how do we get here?
We just kind of got to back off and realize we have everything that we need within us. And there are people that will assist us, but we need to go with the gut that says, I resonate with this person. And you resonate deeply. I know when we first met Blue Angel, it was almost like coming home. And we hear people talk in the communities that we're in, that you have that experience with the other part of your soul where you're coming home. But it should be that way with all of the relationships that you have. You meet people, and it's like coming home.
but then there's the ones that come from what we call spiritual ego. And that what you were saying, Ellen, that is big. I feel I've just gotten more used to it now, and I just brush past it.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing me sort of back to, yes, that is so big. A lot of people are wising up more now because, you know, like I said, I've had me finger on the pulse of humanity, watching for a long time now, watching things grow and shift from being a template 6D and a pioneer, basically, and a trailblazer for humanity, and feeling what I feel uniquely through myself first for humanity, which is a very big thing to say. And it has taken me a long time to grow into that, from lack of confidence, from what I went through in the past. Like other people, we've all gone through our personal things. The biggest thing is self-esteem and lack of confidence is, and then the head, the mind kicks in to protect us. And we put masks and covers on, and we shift into ego, negative ego, because ego is, there's an Australian song, ego is not a dirty word. It's good to have a good, healthy ego when it's loving, and, you know, and it's the control that for us to cope on the inside when we're so empathic and deep and mushy that we've needed to put protection. We've needed masks. We've needed masks to protect because we're so soft and gentle on the inside, and to cope and survive. And so a lot of people, when they're coming from spiritual ego, I understand their growth, because I was, you ready? I was a bit like that too.
Oh my God.
No
Don't
way.
tell anyone.
Okay, nobody say anything. You're going to be very, very quiet.
Because I was like that, and I worked through, and because I process and go deeply and shift, when others come from that space, I understand. And I see where they're coming from, and I know that they're dealing with what they are. And it's taken me a long time to turn that around, to shift through anger and jealousy and resentment and the buttons that it triggered and pushed in me. Again, years and years of that. And the attacks, to shift it, to be the bigger person, to raise above it. And that's what we need to do. We need to raise above that. Get out of the emotions. Fancy me saying that. There are times we do need to get out of the old emotions where we can, Okay, get out of an old loop, because there's a lot of loops that are going on. Is shift out of that old loop consciously and be the bigger person and send them love and then move on. And if they continue, do what you need to do, whether you need to block, if you're on Facebook, this, that, the other, and distance yourself. So it's recognizing when they do come from that is the key, and move away. Move away from it.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of look at it kind of like growing pains. I mean, you go through phases.
Yeah, I like that.
You know,
I like that.
Basically, you just kind of go through phases where everything's brand new. Then all of a sudden you start learning stuff, and then you kind of think you know a lot, and then you act like you know a lot. And then you kind of ride that big old wave until all of a sudden it just disappears, and you're like, oh, what the hell happened? What happened there? Okay, I don't know anything. So it almost seems cyclical to me, you know? Because I know we go through that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sandra and I. It keeps us humble. It keeps us humble.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about it, and us recognizing it in ourselves, whenever we see other people kind of going through that, we're like, oh, kind of like a kid growing up. It's just a phase. They'll get over it. Or not. I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. You know, maybe they'll stay in my basement playing Nintendo or PlayStation or whatever all for the rest of their lives. But
isn't that a good thing? Again, I've said that, I've read it, and I saw again something came up on telly, because a lot of times on television, I'll watch a bit of a movie or show, and there'll be a line in the show that comes out that just hits me as a message. And again, I heard the one.
I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and pick with up. I got to pick my head. I keep hearing that echo in my head. It's like a half a second behind me whenever I'm actually speaking. I'm going to be back more on the other side. Anastacia, Blue Beyond Compost. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. On Twin Flame Divine Fire. And we're back, Twin Flame Divine Fire on Truth Frequency Radio. I'm Alan.
And I'm Sandra.
We hope you're doing good today. We really do. We hope everything is well with you. We hope your health is doing fantastic. And we're happy today. We have Anastacia Compost on.
Yay! Blue Angel. Yes.
You and that Blue Angel is catching. I've had a couple other people call me Blue Angel since you have.
Yeah, we're getting the trend started here, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
And it just came out. It was flowing. It was like I so recognize.
Some things are just natural.
Yeah, I just recognized. It was like, I know you. I know who you are. I see you. How many times have you said that when you met people? I see you.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you. I've known you a very long time.
Or like they introduce themselves with one name, but you automatically gravitate, almost like it's a past memory.
Yeah.
But
never having met them.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Do you know that happens practically on every single Skype that I have? This is talk about a coming home of our souls re-meeting each other, and it's some of them, a lot of them are instant, knowing them straight away. There's a comfortability and a friendship and a kinship that has increased. That has increased over time. More and more are coming out because it's time for us not to hide anymore. Many of us were hiding. I was hiding for a long time.
Oh, we were hiding for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And others. Because we weren't accepted, we weren't understood, we didn't understand ourselves. But now, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. So many are coming out. I'm just loving sharing what I'm sharing that I have been for a long time, and people are now resonating is so wonderful for me. It's very exciting for me. And you.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody in the
exciting.
chat room said, give Sandra an airplane ride on a Blue Angel F-18 Hornet. Thank you. No.
Now, I'd be down for that. I'd be on that all day, every day.
I'm
But
dizzy
Sandra,
enough.
not so
I don't need to get in a plane to get dizzier. We joke so many times because I trip. I can trip over nothing.
She can trip on a painted line. I swear to God.
And I tell him, I said, it's because in another dimension, there's something in that space and I trip over it. And he just laughs at me. But it's a very common thing right now, that dizziness, that equilibrium being off. And people are like, what? What's going on?
Energy's coming in by shifting frequencies. There's just so much coming in with the energies that we filter and process and integrate in the human. And it takes time. And again, it's pausing and taking a moment, breathing, releasing and going with that in a positive way. Because a lot of people with things that are happening with ascension symptoms and what we're feeling, this, that, and I did too. Why am I feeling this? Why can't I sleep? Why can't I that? Until I learned to accept it. To accept this as part of growing and changing. Because the only thing that's permanent is change.
That's for sure.
I just said I'd throw that in and I'll just sit back now.
Well,
I'm just saying.
We love change. We love seeing things progress and move forward. And we love walking out in nature. I cannot express to people how important that is. If you're feeling,
yes,
literally go out and sit by a tree or put your hands in the dirt and allow them.
Hey, do you want me to tell you a little secret?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are right about remembering to do that. I need to remind myself to do that. See, what I've been sharing about, because it's all about me, right? What I've been sharing.
Anastacia.
I'm blushing.
You're like a Brady Bunch here, man. Marsha. Anastacia. Go ahead.
To remind myself, I've been revealing more lately of, in being real, of what I share and write and come across and what people have a perception of someone that is already been in 5D. I'm now in 6D, where 5D basically is coming in unconditional love and the Christ energy and living it all the time, okay? It's a natural way of being then. And then 6D is then I get messages and visuals. It's all visual, not words. And I'm needing to interpret those visuals into human words that haven't been shared before. And so because I've got a strong link with the divine and I'm sharing through what comes through and people are resonating, so many people say, oh my God, I'm going through that at the moment. I just said that the other day. Are you in my head? Are you in my head? That's exactly what I was feeling, thinking, going through. So is then lately I've been sharing with people that I actually internally do not like change. I just thought I would tell you that I struggle with change. And
I do.
It's how can I struggle with change when I'm changing all the time, living in the flow? Because one is in spirit and one is in human. See, there's a difference. Yeah. There's a difference. I go with the flow, with the changes, with the energies that come in. And when it comes down to the human, and a lot of us we're stubborn. We don't want to let go. We like routine. We like familiarity. It's a natural part of us. Yeah. And it is acknowledging to myself, and how did this come about when you're talking about grounding and going out to nature? Because you're talking about change. But, is that recently I admitted to myself, yes, I own that personally. I do struggle a bit with change, yet I accept it and I work with it, and that's how I deal with it. It's accepting all parts of ourselves. You talk about the coming home, the human again, is accepting all those little isms and parts of ourselves. That's a really challenging thing to do. And this is where people struggle a lot, because quite often people fight against themselves. We fight against ourselves. A lot of self-warring going on. And yes, going out into nature. And as I said, I do need to remind myself to do that. It's another thing, being conscious to go out and just go, oh, that's right. It's so refreshing and energizing and beautiful. And so many people, Greg Prescott writes about a lot, ground. Mm-hmm. Go out to nature, go near some water. It is important to bring that element to help us to balance. So much to balancing, isn't there?
Yeah. And you can go out in your backyard. Your
That's
backyard
right.
is beautiful.
Oh my
And
God.
the birds. And you just sit down and go, wow. Of course, Alan would be freaking out and going, is there a...
I'd be looking for tiger snakes and taipans and Sydney funnel webs and all sorts of stuff. Oh my God. I watched way too many documentaries about your country. I wish I'd never seen any of them. 'Cause now
You guys, we laugh our heads off at this. We laugh and laugh because we're used to it. We don't like them. I don't like them either. But it's our way that we naturally, you leave them alone. They don't touch you. You learn to leave them alone. And it's just, I don't know, it's part of our culture. We've grown up with that. So we laugh. We find it very amusing.
common grounds and all that. It's just like
you haven't finished. You're not over it, are you, darling?
Oh,
You're not over
no,
it.
no. Like, you guys have like 7 or 8 of the world's deadliest snakes. No. I'm good.
I told
good.
Ellen, I
We're
said,
special.
we're going to Australia. And we're
Yeah, you
gonna
have
meet
to.
all these amazing people. And he
Oh,
goes,
yeah.
get my armor.
I don't care about the top, but on my pants, like the pantalones, they're going to be made out of some kind of metal. I'm telling you that.
Hey, do you know what we would say in Australia, Ellen? You
What?
need a can of Harden Up.
Need a what?
A can of Harden Up.
Oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to the ocean. If I'm going to go swimming, I'll be in a pool. Thank you very much. But I have to be in the ocean. Whoop. Sorry. That'll ruin your day. Boy, I kind of got caught up in the moment there, didn't I?
You sure did.
I know, silly American.
Well, we are the solar plexus of the world, Australia. We are the solar plexus of the world.
You have amazing things to see and places to go, and the energy
Yeah.
is so intense. And we know we're going. We know we are.
Well,
So many. Sorry,
we were,
darling.
we were talking about that one night. Who was it? We were talking with someone about it.
Daniel.
Was it Daniel?
Yeah.
And I don't know. We got done and we're scrolling through one of the social media sites and all that. And I kid you not, we came across an ad for like discount flights to Australia. And I looked at Sandra and she looked at me. She started laughing. Who's listening to our conversation? You know, I mean, we never had ads for Australia flights.
Confirmation, Anastacia.
And I was like, oh, God, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
You know, a lot of people are feeling the pull like that. So many have said in when I'm chatting to them that they really feel a really strong pull to come to Australia. And I'm like, gosh, nearly every single one. I'm like, wow, there's just going to be an influx. Get your passports and your visas ready because there's going to be a big influx from what everyone's saying. I'm feeling a pull to come to Australia, feeling a pull to come to Australia. Wow.
One good thing, that continent's big enough to handle them all, so that's for sure.
Well, we got plenty of desert you can go to, darling. Plenty of room.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, plenty of room there.
I really wanted to discuss something because I just think it's fascinating that for years my kids have called me Moo, and a lot of people call me Moo. And in this meeting with Blue Angel, we found out that word comes up quite a bit for her too. And the synchronicities of meeting people we've never met before. And when you start speaking and you realize you have so much more in common than you ever even imagined.
Well, because Michael, who I live with, my partner, he's Moo.
Yeah. We joke.
Yeah,
about
we just, yeah. It's like, okay, 2 moos. All right.
And Alan calls cows moo cows. There's just amazing synchronicities. And we're all meeting these amazing soul family. And Blue Angel, we are so honored to meet you. I'm going to say again.
Yeah.
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 Well, there was an instant recognition, and there was an instant familiarity.
Yeah. And it was all.
Oh, that's lovely to say. Thank you.
how we've all been hiding in the shadows, and now it's time to stop hiding and come out. Come out. Show who you are, what you're all about.
But then also to protect ourselves in that too. It's being wise and smart about it, because it's okay for us that resonate, but it's about also protecting ourselves with others that aren't, so to speak, on the same page of the book. I'm talking loosely about this. Just, it's as empaths, when we come out and feel so much, we need to protect ourselves as well. Because there's a lot of people aren't in the spaces that we are in, coming from unconditional love. And that's why a lot of us shut off in the first place, quite often very young in childhood, because we were loving unconditionally, and then life and situations and whatever we grew up with, we needed to deal with, we put protection, we put arm around. And so a lot of us has taken along, especially Blu-rays, we've hidden behind the scenes for a long time. A long time we've been plodding along, transmuting for our families, to be brave enough, strong enough to have confidence, to come out a bit more. Yet when we come out, we need to be smart about it and realise that we need to have protection around. And sometimes we need to separate ourselves and what I call love people from a distance as well. It's not good for us to come out like that, to just ooze that love and send all our energy out and open up to everyone around us. And so it's to come out within our own bubble, so to speak, around ourselves with protection, and bring our energy in and get a feel for those, because we have what I call our energies like liquid gold. Choose who you share your liquid gold with. Choose. They need to earn it. And I have another saying, mistrust everyone. And I say that gently, delicately and lovingly. And even with my son, I say, put protection around your heart of hearts. Choose who you share. Don't give. I can't say don't give. It's I'll put it back to me, okay, because I don't tell people what to do, is I've needed to learn to mistrust everyone in the way that instead of giving trust instantly, which we did, I know I did lovingly as a child, is people need to earn that trust first, and to keep a protection around our heart of hearts. And they need to earn their way. They need to earn their way in with trust.
Wow.
That's
And
funny
that
because
trust starts.
Yeah, because I saw something the other day that said trust should be the default, but I think with a lot of the times, because and I'll just put it out there, Anastacia and I went through something yesterday, and it had to do with early trust issues with me, early trust issues, and I have never, not never, but generally, I mean, I just don't trust by default. I'm very skeptical. I'm kind of standoffish until I get to know you a little bit, generally. But I mean, don't discount anything, whenever you say, well, I should feel this way or I should feel that way. I should be more of a trusting person.
But what
would you say to that?
ultimately, it is about trusting yourself.
Yeah.
That is the golden key. I've been writing and sharing a lot lately, is trusting ourselves. Now, it took me a very long time to trust myself, because part of being a bluer is having addictions. I've had a lot of addictions. I'm with you. And it took me a long time to actually trust myself. And also another thing that's been coming for people is trusting the divine. It's both. And then trusting the divine within. So the three are linked. But it's ultimately trusting yourself, trust your gut feeling. And sometimes it's something people need to relearn, is to relearn to trust ourselves. It's really important at the moment, the trust in a bigger and deeper way than we have in the past.
I'm breathing
Because, well, I've also written recently, we were going through now what I'm sharing here is what I get as guided from the divine, and I've written about this. I'm not the expert on Atlantis and Lemuria. I just know from visions and flashes and info and resonations and knowing that we're going through the great fall again. Now, I know, Alan, you might say for people that might not understand it, it's just take this information I'm saying intuitively. If someone tries to think and goes logical with what I'm sharing, they're not going to understand. So it's a feeling and just taking on that we're going through another great fall. And many of us we didn't make it through last time. This time we are. And we don't need to self-sacrifice, and we need to retrust ourselves. It's pretty exciting at the moment what's coming through. But also within this are people that are falling away.
And you're kind of seeing that a lot now.
Yeah. Is that a deeply embedded fear of loss?
Oh, that's a good one. And that leads into what has just come recently. I was sharing that it is embracing the loss of possibly everything. It could be layers, it could be bits, it could be this, it could be that. It's not, we can't just go, oh yeah, I've given it all up. I've given up letting go everything in one hit. Doesn't work that way, doesn't work that quick. If it takes me a little while to go through it, ... I often say as a template, if it takes me a little while, because a lot of people jump in, I've been through that. Well, actually, we're going through this at the moment. This is another layer. There's more, So, yeah, and it is embracing being brave enough to feel the loss of everything. If it takes sitting there to lose your income, to where would I be? It is that ultimate divine faith and trust. And sometimes our lessons are in learning to let go, to lose, to get our trust. It's us that doesn't trust because we're always looked after. Mightn't be the way that we think or we plan with our head, because that's another big one. Get your head out of the way.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not what you think it's going to be. The universe has got this. This is bigger than us. Allow the universe to show you and guide you. Just get out of your own way. Time and time again. Not just once. Time and time again. Notice when you're doing it. Shift it. Old habits, guys. Old habits that we needed to cope and survive in the past. Those times and energies are no longer. We are in different times now. So those absolutely. Those coping mechanisms, they're not working anymore. Mm. There's a lot of closed doors now. And I wrote this, there's a lot of closed doors. The doors have been closed for us. And people that are not realising that doors are closed and trying to go into the old, and I wrote this, and again I say this gently with love, are facing self-destruction and self-annihilation. And it is extremely tough to see this around us. More and more I see in posts and comments and, such and such as didn't make it and this person's going through that, and there's nothing, you've got to sit back. We can't go in and rescue anymore because we need to rescue us. Mm-hmm. It's big.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So
it's time to celebrate. Time to celebrate. We're rescuing ourselves. How amazing. Well, we've got about 4 minutes left, and we wanted to let Anastacia give you some information where you can get a hold of her if you'd like to. Because of the nature of what she does, sometimes she gets tired, and we want her to be able to rest. It's very exhausting. And so when we come back into the last half hour, you get to listen to Alan and I. And where we want you to give people information, how they can get a hold of you if they would like to, Anastacia.
Okay, thank you. My main flow at the moment is through Facebook on the Blue Beyond. I also, by email, and the email is theoraclespeaks altogether at bigpond.com. So it's the Oracle Speaks at bigpond.com. And then I can share and whatever it is, if someone wants to ask more, if they'd like a more personal one-on-one, where I can uniquely hone into them, because I'll do an hour clearing of in the astrals, multi-dimensions first, then an hour of Skype. Quite often it goes over that. Quite often it goes for many hours after that. I go as guided, for what it is for them with their higher selves, and direct messages and a direct link to the divine in Christ consciousness. It is an amazing miracle space that is very life-changing for every single person that has it. This is the feedback. This is not me saying this is what is actually happening, and it's quite beautiful and special. And I don't judge. It's so loving. And we have fun. I really lighten up. We laugh. We go through so much, as you know yourself. You both,
Yeah.
you both received one yesterday at the same time. It was boom, boom.
Poor Anastacia.
That was intense.
But that's the thing that people say that, but and tired, I rest. This is my passion. It's not work. I love it. I love
When
it.
you're doing your passion.
Oh, you get energy from it. I get energy from doing this.
Well, yeah, and you can tell too. I mean, your passion is just out there. So, I mean, it's wonderful what you do, and we thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, that we're all here together. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, and we enjoy it so much that
Mm.
there's so many healing modalities that people just fully have not tapped into.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ones that are unfolding, and how amazing, and they clear all of these attachments that we have, and things that we as human beings look at and go, what? And then we get to hear those beautiful birds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
that
have
is
really
awesome.
been given us.
Well, the sun's up now. I started at 2 a.m. I was up at 2 a.m. It was black, and now I'm looking at the sun that's come up with a bit of cloud, and it's beautiful. I love mornings.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. All right. Well, we are getting to that point. Anastacia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, love. Thank you.
Love you, Blue
Jay,
Angel.
love you.
Love you too.
All right. Sandra and I are going to be back on the other side in just about, 3 minutes or so. Hang
Yeah.
tight. Twin Flame Divine Fire on True Frequency Radio. And we're back, Twin Flame Divine Fire on Truth Frequency Radio. And I don't know, that was a great hour and a half with
Yes, it
Anastacia.
was. She gets very tired, so we wanted to allow her to have that space where if she can't go on, we allow her to do what she needs to do.
Well,
So-
and, yeah, she has a lot going on. One of the, I noticed one of the comments, and I didn't really want to bring it up per se whenever she was on the air with us, but one of the comments had to do with, is she psychic? You know, because she kind of said, okay, hang on just a minute, I'm processing right now. She gets a lot of information being thrown at her
Yeah.
all the time,
So
or
she's
she's
constantly
receiving.
processing. Yeah.
It's like, I think they picked the right person because she's a very high energy person.
And she's very good at what she does.
Yeah,
So
There you go.